Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Ryan. Today, talking about WWE 2K17, the upcoming WWE video game coming out this fall. And I'm here to talk about 5 features that I think need to be in this game after playing extensively WWE 2K16 and my knowledge of past WWE video games. This is more or less what I would like to see. So, 5 features that should be in WWE 2K17, a wish list of sorts, and in no particular order. So let's start things off. Number 1 on my list is changing the submission system. So I don't know if anyone had as much trouble as I did, but the submission system was a little complicated that revolved this kind of circle thing, and you were trying to stay out of the red. If your opponent was applying the holds, they were very much that red area, and if you're trying to get out of it, you're basically just trying to get out of that. And it was very difficult to deal with, and I think the biggest problem with it was that you could straight up lose a match like 10 seconds in because you screwed this up. It wasn't like previous games where they had sort of that submission breaker meter thing where if it's very early in the match, it's easy to get out of. This seemed to be pretty difficult to get out of even super early in the match and would cause me to lose a lot of matches that I otherwise should not have lost. Now, I'm sure there was plenty of people that figured it out and it's not too difficult for them, but of the many wrestling video games I've played, I've never run into a system that was as hard as this was dealing with submissions. So I definitely think that's a problem. The learning curve on it was definitely too steep. So change the submission system, please. Alright, coming in at number 2 is just give us all the creation suite stuff from WWE 2K14. 2K14 was really the absolute pinnacle of the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era for WWE video games, and a lot of people thought once 2K took over that this game was going to be very skippable because it was kind of in development in the midst of this whole 2K Ukes THQ stuff going on. So everyone thought it wasn't going to be that great, but it turned out to be one of the best wrestling games of all time. In fact, we'd probably throw it on our WWE Top 10 video games list nowadays, but unfortunately we can't really go back and update that. Nevertheless, the creation suite that we want, give us back, create a finisher. The create a wrestler was just so much more extensive in those games than it was in 2K15 and 2K16. And of course, create a story. That was a mode that us biasedly was very integral for when we created Fight Night. But just, that was really cool to be able to go online and play other people's stories that they created. Being able to do those cutscenes and stuff made for tons of fun. And it's unfortunate that so much of that got stripped away. We understand they were trying to build a new foundation. But yeah, give us the moves, the creative finishers, create a story, more expanded create a wrestler, bring back, they do have create a title, but let us defend those online and stuff. And I don't know if we've seen that for many years. But anyway, 2K14 stuff, we want to see a lot of that back and then some. That would be great. Alright, coming in at number 3, career mode storylines. And I'm talking specifically about my career mode. My career mode definitely was, it was a great idea in theory, but in execution, it's actually not that fun. Starting out in NXT, working your way to the WWE roster, and then eventually working your way to the Hall of Fame sounds like an awesome idea. But when I actually played the WWE 2K16 story, I got bored very quickly. I'm totally okay with it being a grind to get out of NXT and a grind to get out of, to work your way up to championship level on the main WWE roster. But they made it very boring. Every single feud felt exactly the same. You were given like a handful of different little storyline cutscenes, feuding cutscenes, and it just really was the same kind of cookie cutter feuds every single time. It got really boring. So they really need to add in just have a bigger rotation of storylines, but have it be a little more interesting. You can introduce there's a love triangle storyline, or you get jumped by a group of people and then you have to form a tag team to face them. Things that are very similar to like a Here Comes the Pain storyline, except maybe you make them a little bit more general so that they can kind of be randomly generated, as opposed to like Here Comes the Pain had a very kind of set number of storylines and you just kind of went on one branch or the other. So something like that. Just add more and more and more of these cutscenes into the rotation so that the different storylines can kind of be different every time you play it. But yeah, it just got super, super repetitive, and I never got past like going for the US title in the My Career mode. So maybe it gets a little bit better, but the first 10, 15 hours of it was very, very boring. Very unfortunate, but I like where they're going with it. They just need to expand on it. Okay, coming in, and this kind of has to do with My Career mode as well, but coming in at number 4 is match pacing changes. I like what they're trying to do with the pace of the match and having you build up to these big finishes and stuff. But the thing was, you ended up kind of having to do the same thing in every match that you played, where you had to make sure you weren't repeating too many moves, which I do like that concept. But every match had to turn into like a 5-star classic just to win. One finisher never beat anyone ever. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that your character started out so damn weak when you first started playing. And I understand that. I like being able to build up your guy. But because of that, a lot of the gameplay suffered. So maybe if they made finishers count for a little more, and pay-per-view matches can end up being that 5-star classic, but please let us just kind of squash a guy in a couple of minutes during some of these Raws. I'm not even saying all of them. Some of these NXTs or Raws that you play on to build up to the pay-per-view. I mean, I remember I was playing the story mode and I finally got a shot at the NXT title facing Kevin Owens, who happened to be champion at the time. And the guy goes and DQs himself. And it was like I spent hours going through all these matches just to get to this title match. He DQs himself, so it's like now I have to slog through countless hours of matches just to get back there. The matches just felt way too slow for just every single match having to be that way. Like I said, pay-per-view matches, make those a little bit longer. I mean, 2K14 had sort of levels of matches you could have it on, all the way up to kind of like matches where people would be kicking out of finishers more and more. If they kind of had that behind the scenes in the career mode, where it's like you don't know what kind of match pacing you're in for before you go into it, but it's smart enough to set it at the right time during the right circumstances, something like that would be cool, because the match pacing was just a little too slow to trog through a career mode for. Alright, finally, number 5 on my top 5 features I'd like to see in WWE 2K17. That is, focus on the new roster. Basically, since WWE 13, we've been having some sort of, allusion to the past eras. And all that's cool, history of wrestling is great, but what ends up happening is a huge chunk of the roster ends up being dedicated to those past eras. So we get less of the guys, less of the new wrestlers on the roster. So I think I would really like to see them, if they're going to do another mode like they did for Steve Austin's career mode, if they're going to do something like that again, maybe just do a kind of what if storyline, or something more like WWE 12, where it's just kind of its own story that they do. It's just completely made up. And that way you can have all the new guys on the roster. You could do like an NXT Invasion storyline or something. The point is, I want to see the roster focused more on NXT in the main WWE roster. There's tons of new people that it would be awesome to see them included in the game. And I know E3's this week, so we're going to be finding out more about the roster. So we'll see what it's going to be based on. But yeah, I would love to see tons of the NXT roster there, an expanded NXT roster. Because what we had in WWE 16, we got a few NXT guys, but it wasn't really that expansive. If you forget including all of these past characters and like multiple versions of Triple H's and Chris Jericho's and John Cena's, you could actually have basically the entire WWE roster, all of NXT and all of Raw and SmackDown when the draft's going to happen. So that would be really cool to see, and maybe that's not going to happen this year, but maybe it'll be on the game after. But anyway, those are the top 5 features that I would like to see in WWE 2K17. So make sure in the comments below to let me know what features you think need to be in this game. What about 2K16 did you not like that you want to see changed? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to check out some of our other videos as well, and if you have not hit the subscribe button, you can do that by hitting it below. And hey, if you like this really sexy Byte That t-shirt, you can get one yourself by clicking the link in the description below. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.